Hello, I'm Vicki Sheree-Town, Adjunct English Faculty Instructor at the University of the People online and via hybrid modality at Trident Technical College and ECPI University in Charleston, South Carolina. Pronouns are some of the shortest but most powerful words in the English language, or any other language for that matter, and that's because they represent who we are in relationship to others as well as ourselves. I'm going to share with you why using first person they as a singular pronoun, in addition to its role as a third person plural, is not only grammatically acceptable, but also, in many situations, it's the most appropriate and grammatically sensitive choice for bias-free, inclusive communication. Now, most of us are comfortable with our personal identities, thoughts, actions, deeds, hopes, and dreams all existing within the neutral family of first-person singular pronouns I, me, and my, and third-person plural pronouns our, we, us, and they. Now, I understand that both the singular and plural you that make up my audience might be resistant to that notion. But let's examine how and why singular they is worthy of consideration and respect. Everything evolves and changes. That's true for physical environments and also true for our socially constructed ways of doing, being, and interacting with others. For example, language is a socially constructed way of communicating with others, and gender is a socially constructed way of interacting with others when we are doing or simply being. Using gendered pronouns to communicate generic human descriptions, activities, and situations leads to self-sustaining assumptions about who should or should not participate that are not always rational or appropriate. Using singular they provides a rational and appropriate communication solution for preventing and dismantling self-sustaining assumptions that equate gender with capability or merit. Recognizing and choosing singular they when situationally appropriate allows any human to picture themselves or be pictured by others as having the necessary generic characteristics for doing activities, participating in events, and being accepted in social situations. That is why academic and scholarly professional associations such as APA, MLA, and the Chicago Manual of Style have endorsed and adopted the use of singular they, not just for informal situations, but also for formal academic and professional purposes. That's also why Merriam-Webster's dictionary, along with other authoritative reference sources, contains definitions and examples of singular they that demonstrate its use with indefinite pronouns, when discussing unknown or nonspecific individuals, and when concealing the gender of an individual. The language that gives power to identity also fuels socially constructed gender ideas. Viewing the world from our first-person perspective, the pronoun I communicates no assumptions about gender. The only assumption is that the entity using the pronoun is an individual human being. Singular they is an extension of that neutral identity, and along with plural they, preserves a right to privacy. Gender is a constructed combination of identity, attraction, and expression, but it is not dependent on our biological sex or ability to procreate. Written and spoken language choices related to gender deserve the same freedom of expression afforded to other grammar and style choices. As a scholar and educator, instead of assuming error and reacting according to cognitive bias based on prior experience and habit, I must ask the critical grammar question: are the choices intentional, meaningful, and appropriate for the audience, purpose, tone, genre, and style of communication? Deciding whether they is being used appropriately must include the understanding that referring to a single person as they instead of he or she is regarded as grammatically acceptable based on expert consensus by the language scholars and professional associations. That cloak of propriety applies not only when someone chooses to be non-binary, but also when a writer prefers not to make or allow assumptions about gender based on external descriptions or unconfirmed sexuality. Many of us speak and write within the boundaries of day-to-day cultural norms without consciously considering how our language choices affect the perceptions and assumptions of others. Most of us just instinctively accept the habitual and familiar language conventions learned from our communities of practice. However, as educators and scholars, we model civility and respect for students and colleagues alike when we choose to incorporate bias-free and inclusive language into our practices. Using and accepting gender-neutral pronouns, both singular and plural, is no different than changing from styles from APA 6 to APA 7 or moving from MLA 7 to MLA 8 style. All of us go through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and frustration before we ever get to acceptance. All it takes is a mindful and reflective practice to become skilled at recognizing and accepting another's use of the expanded choices available for referring to others from the first or third person point of view. All it takes is respect, compassion, and civility to adopt and use they as a singular pronoun when someone's specific non-binary gender identity is known, or when referring to someone whose gender identity is unknown, irrelevant, or intentionally withheld. Even though they can mean any one of us or all of us, if using the generic third person they makes you feel awkward or uncomfortable, then by all means practice avoidance by revising your message while maintaining inclusiveness, as shown here. One final note, as the APA grammar guidelines make explicitly clear, do not use alternatives when people use they as their first person pronoun. Always use the pronouns that people use to refer to themselves. Thanks for your time, attention, and consideration. I hope you're closer to accepting they if you weren't already.